Habs lose 6-3 against the LA Kings. Unfortunate, but honestly, it was the expected outcome. Like, who was expecting us to win? Really? Yeah. Of course, as fans, we always are like, yes, let's win, you know? And like, all things considered, it wasn't a bad game. So let me give extra context in case you were not aware. The Habs were in a second half of a back-to-back. The LA Kings had not played since Saturday, so a lot more energy from them and from us, right? LA is one of the best teams playing at home, and the Habs have been on a rough stretch. And like, they're an experienced veteran team that's been making the playoffs constantly, where the Habs are still rebuilding, still a young team that's learning, right? So if you were forced to put money down, who do you have bet on, given all that context? Right? Like, the outcome of the game was expected. Well, we were not expected to win that game, right? Yep. Do you want down? I'm sorry. So, but all things considered, I think we played pretty well. Like, yes, of course, there were defensive breakdowns. Of course, like, it was bad at times, you know, but like, we were still fighting late in the third. So I don't think this is one game that we should be calling doom after. I am not super upset. Of course, it's frustrating that even though we were close, we still let it get away from us, right? Because you're one goal away halfway through the third, and then you let them score another one, and then you're chasing by two, and then you pull the goalie, and they scored immediately after that because our guys are tired, our guys are not playing well, your top guys are not playing well, and whatchamacallit, they win by 3, so like you see the total score and it's 6-3, right? So it doesn't look good, but I don't know, overall it wasn't bad. Just looking at the stats after the game, of course they had a lot more shots on goal, but a lot of their shots, first of all, came in like the first minute and a half. Like, they had 10 shots in 2 minutes or something crazy, but a lot of them were shots from the outside. Like, it was defensemen scoring from the outside. Sure, like they were they had a lot of screens on our goalie, and like, we're playing well, and maybe that's their style of play, but a lot of those shots were not dangerous shots, right? Like face-offs, we were 57% on the face-off, so we were better than them on the face-off, actually, and kudos to Beck for that. I think Beck and Dvorak had a good what's he doing? Were huge contributors to that. We were okay on penalties. We only took 2 penalties. That's like good for us. I think we're the most penalized team in the league. Yeah, only 2 penalties against a fairly disciplined team, and they had 3 penalties. Yeah, pretty good, eh? I'm not gonna talk about our power play yet, but I'll get there. We were hitting more. I'm looking at the NHL game center, by the way, here on my second monitor. We had more hits. We blocked more shots. We were similar in giveaways, and we had a lot more takeaways. So like, if you just look at that, you're like, you know, it wasn't a bad game overall. Obviously, the score tells a different story on the shots on goal, right? But I don't think we played that bad. So I don't watch the LA Kings play often, so I don't know what their style of play is. I know they're good. I know they've been they're like a good defensive team and whatnot, and they keep you to the outside and blah blah blah. But that's pretty much all I know about them, right? Like, I see some highlights of them but that's about it. And you know, highlights don't really tell a good story of how good a team is and whatnot. So I was terrified. I was just totally terrified after the first 2 minutes. They kept us in our zone the whole time. They were shooting it like crazy from the outside, but still a lot of shots on goal, right? And then they score with 1 minute in, or 2 minutes in, or something like that. So I'm immediately just like, oh god, this is gonna be bad, isn't it, eh? But we do weather the storm after that. I think after the first was over, I was feeling a little bit more calm. I was like, okay, they were just playing really well, and we started really slow. You know, we are on the second half of a back-to-back, and they came in with energy and whatnot. So like, horrible start. Really good start for them. But the game did feel more calm after that. I think we only allowed like 4 or 5 shots after the first 2 minutes, and like leading into the second. So, you know, like we calmed it down. We started playing our game. We actually had some decent chances, some good offensive chances, some good rebounds and whatnot. And like, this game, I think could have gone either way if we were a little bit luckier. Although our first goal, it's just hilarious. It bounces on the goalie's head and then goes in. You take those, right? I think I was just saying how if we had been a little bit luckier, the outcome could have been different. But like, our first goal was pretty lucky, and it was hilarious to see. It was a good job by Slavkovsky, though, going to the net and being pesky in front of them, forcing Doughty to be in a bad spot, right? Or like fighting for space. So good shot by Matheson, and then like, yeah, you take a lucky bounce. So anyways, good to see. Slav. Speaking of Slav. He obviously was a main contributor to the first goal against. So they tried to explain it in the intermission, and I didn't fully understand. Like, face-offs to me are like a little bit of a black box. I don't fully understand like what the role of every player is. But apparently you have 2 forwards on the right side, so it was Caulfield and Slavkovsky right behind him. And if you lose the face-off, then you have like responsibilities misaligned, right? Because you have a forward playing defense apparently. So the puck goes to Slav, and I think he tries first clearing, but he whiffs, and then he tries putting it on the goalie pads. But Dobish doesn't read that, and it just bounces awkwardly, and then Slav is screening our goalie and not blocking or putting pressure on the shooter. So unfortunate for Slav. I think that's a situation that he learns from. Probably talks it with Dobish on practice after. Like, probably Marty brings it up. I don't know. I feel like that's a learning experience, you know. Still a little awkward to see. But yeah, overall I thought Slav was pretty good. Was carrying his weight. It was hitting. Obviously, he still had some of the cross ice passes that people hate. He still was a little soft on some passes, but he realized, or he's recognizing when he screws up, and like back checks hard, right? So he knows, oh, I screwed up, and like goes full speed back, or like, so he's starting to read the game more. And yes, it's not great overall to see Slav playing like he has been, knowing how well he played at the end of last season. So you would have loved that he started there. But, and this is completely my opinion, I never really thought that what he was doing at the end of last season was sustainable. Watching it, it did feel like he was having a good offensive games, but he was just focusing on the offense side and like living the good life with Suzuki and Caulfield. They were both playing well also. And I don't think we were good enough for other teams to actually like figure out how to play against us. I don't know. That's just how I feel. And I feel like now, after the good stretch that we had, some teams did put us in their radar and figure out how to play against us, especially like defensively, offensively to screw with our defense, and defensively to play better against our lines, right? So I do think he's gonna go back to the pace he was. It might take another year. I do see a lot of improvement in decision making. Yes, he sometimes hesitates more than he needs to because he's thinking way too much. But I think that for prospect, he's not a prospect anymore, but for a player that's still developing, it's good that he's thinking the game. Because yes, he's gonna screw up, and because he's overthinking, right? But after you do that for a while, it becomes muscle memory. So you stop overthinking, and you immediately realize what your choices are and what probably is the best decision, right? So yes, it's going to suck to see for a little bit longer, and you can say that a lot that about a lot of our young players, right? But it's good development. Like, we're a young team, we're a young developing team. We can't really expect them to play like Drew Doughty out there, who has years and years of experience, and like he has that muscle memory I was just talking about, right? Anyway, so a lot of silver linings for this for this game. Like I said, overall it wasn't like the outcome wasn't great, but overall I think we didn't play bad. So silver linings, right? So many defenseman goals. So their first goal is a defenseman, then our goal is from Matheson, and then their third goal was also an E-man shot, which, by the way, Dobish I think should have had that one. I'll go to Dobish in a minute here. Carrier scored, then Mayu scored. So all of our goals were from defensemen. I think our forwards played a good part in those goals. For example, the Mayu one was a good rush by Newhook, and then a good read to space, and Mayu read it well too, and he has an amazing shot. So really good offensively from Mayu. Although you expect him to see a little bit better improvement on defense. Supposedly he was working on his defense in Laval during this year. Still rusty, still a lot to improve, but the offense is there, right? And he was used sparingly during our defensive zones, right? So like he was paired with Matheson, but whenever we were in the D zone or for a face-off, it would be Carrier with Matheson. So Mayu, I don't think he had a lot of ice time. He was put out on the ice when we were in the offensive zone. Which is good, you know. You ease him into the NHL. You don't just put him against a good team to like play top line minutes, you know. Like, no, you don't do that, right? So I think the shuffling of the defensive pairings were good by Marty. Honestly, I didn't mind that. He took a dumb penalty that ended up in a penalty shot. Again, a learning experience. I think, like, he's a rookie. He's played what, like 10 games in the NHL or something like that. He missed so much time in COVID and that whole deal that I'm not going to get into. So he still has a lot to learn, I think. And I don't know if he's going to learn good defense in the AHL anymore, which is a really difficult situation, because what do? Do you fully embrace the tank now and use the rest of the season to give the opportunities to your rookies so they get some experience, so that next season they don't have this struggles of adapting to a faster paced game? I don't know. Difficult choices, right? Same with the trade deadline coming up. I think obviously all goes together. Seeing Beck and seeing Mayu out there, obviously both good players, but not experienced players, makes me think that we already are in the mindset that we're not going to be hunting for the playoffs, or, you know, because we're giving rookies some opportunities. We're not in win everything no matter the cost kind of mode. We'll see. Speaking of Beck, I thought he had another really good game. Like, he is such a dog, honestly. He hits so hard. He fights for the puck. He won some really good face-offs. Like, I thought LA is usually like touted for how good their face-off centers are, right? But like, Beck won some. And like, there was this one I saw where the puck first goes to the LA side, like the LA center pushes it a little bit to his side, and then Beck just reaches with his stick like way beyond the LA center and pushes it back, so he wins the faceoff after that. Like, that's not something I've seen before from another one of our guys. Honestly, I don't know if it's something that like you only can do once because then the NHL centers are better than that and they read that. I don't know, but Beck, I'm impressed by his last 2 games, honestly. People that didn't impress, Suzuki and Caulfield, a little quiet for their standards. They are our stars, right? They are the who you look for to carry games or to bring the energy and whatnot when your team needs it. And they were not bad. I don't think they were bad, but you expect better of them, right? Like I said, they're your stars. I did like the second line efforts again. Newhook has been playing really well. Like, he has been using his speed to great potential. Like, he's so speedy. He just blows past defensemen and gets the puck in their zone. I think the second line is the one that's struggling the least on how on bringing the puck in the offensive zone because of Newhook, because of their speed, right? Because they come in with speed. Anderson does this too, where they carry the puck, they go behind the net, and then they start cycling, right? So it's the only line that does that. I don't think any one other of our lines does that. The fourth line used to do it really well because we had Heinemann, which was really speedy, big, and a good shot. But now that the fourth line has Armia and Laine, like, you're missing that speed, and your zone entries are a lot different. Our first line doesn't really have that speed, so whenever they don't carry it in, they dump it in, and they hope Slav can recover it, right? So I don't know. I really like the zone entries from our second line. And overall how they played, especially when Daki's playing well. I don't think he had a great game yesterday. A few defensive breakdowns here and there, but I think he had an assist. So he comes out with another point, not too bad. Hudson. So Hudson is so smart. He reads the ice really well. He joined the rush. I think it was Newhook or Dak, and Hudson read it from way far. So he put on the gas and like created a 2-on-1. The pass was a little awkward. It was like up here on him, so he couldn't like bat it on the air, and then he smashes against the boards really hard. But he's just so smart recognizing that and like joining the rush, right? And also he's very smart defensively. I know the commentators mentioned it, and I'm just echoing what they said, but he uses his body for leverage. My point on what I wanted to get at is that all these things that he does, because he's really smart, is things that he can plan for, right? He sees the defensive situation developing, and he's like, okay, this guy is probably going to come here, I'm going to use my leverage, and I'm going to push him off the puck, and what, blah, blah, blah. So like, he's really smart and does that well. But he's still a small player. So in LA's, I think, 4th goal, when he gets rocked by Byfield because the puck just bounced onto him, or it was like in a weird spot, he tries to get it. Byfield is like twice the size of him or something like that, and just smashes him out of the puck, and then it's a 2-on-1. I think Laine was back there covering for Hudson, but like, obviously that's to be expected. It's a small player, small smart player, so he's going to be really good in the situations that he can plan ahead for, that he can use his brain for. But there's going to be some situations where the puck just happens to be on him because it bounced on him, and then there's this dude twice his size like ramming at him, it's gonna happen. Like, even when Hudson becomes a superstar player, because he will become a superstar player once he develops more, even when he's like playing at the Quinn Hughes level, I'm sure those situations will still happen where he's smaller than some other players, right? And it has cons. So anyways, but otherwise I thought he had overall a good game. I mentioned that penalties. So yeah, penalties. Like I said, I thought we were fairly disciplined, all things considered. Being our team, them being their team, like a disciplined playoff team. and our team being like one of the most penalized teams in the league. So overall, I thought we were good. Our PK obviously was good. The 2 times we had to kill the power play, we succeeded, and we didn't allow them too many chances. But our power play, oof. Excuse my French, mais tabarnak! Like, what the hell? I know their penalty kill is good. I know they're like they suffocate and whatnot, but how is our second unit succeeding a lot more in zone entries and starting a cycle than our first unit? Like, yes, New Hook is fast, but like you have Suzuki that comes in with a lot of speed. You have Hudson that is really shifty and whatnot. You have Caulfield and Slav that can return, like Slav can retrieve the pucks. Caulfield also has really good puck movement. Line has been struggling, but you keep him there for his shot. Like, you don't need to rely on him to get a zone entry. I feel like you could have some other ways, but we just could not get the puck in there. And the second unit could, but then their cycling is not great, and you don't have the offensive threats that you do have in the first unit. We needed to capitalize on those power plays. Like, the LA King are one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. Yes, and obviously that translates to their PK as well. But like, when they're missing a player, that's your chance, right? And we had 3 of them. I didn't think we were gonna get a single power play. I was surprised when we got our first one, and then we get 2 more. And I was like, this is our chance. But after seeing how bad our first power play was, you know, like the second and third, the second I was like, oh, you know, maybe the first one was a fluke, and then it wasn't. And by the third, I was like, whatever. Like, we're not. You saw a little bit of like our players trying to adapt, like seeing what they were giving us, because they have one less players. So they're always gonna give you something. Obviously, they make it hard for you to understand where on the ice that opportunity is, but there's always gonna be a opportunity, right? They didn't allow us to get in the zone. And yeah, sure, kudos to them, but like, we need to be better. We need to adapt, right? I feel like we tried to, but they need to be better. They need to have, I don't know, is it experience? Do they need to have just more experience to realize, to see what they're giving you and exploit those chances? I don't know, but awful, abysmal power play first unit. Okay, rant over. I need my cat. He's gone now. Okay, the last point I wanted to mention, Davish. So I think he did let in a few softies. I did mention the third goal. There wasn't much of a screen, and he just doesn't get to close his arm fast enough. The penalty shot, I don't know if this is just me, but I was just relieved. I usually I'm relieved when the other team gets a penalty shot instead of a power play. And I hate when we get a penalty shot instead of a power play, because I feel like penalty shots get stopped more often than not. Is it just me? I don't know. That's what I feel. So I was like, woo, they get just a penalty shot. They're probably not going to score. And then they do score. I don't know if you can blame Davish on that one. I think Fogel played it well. Still, I was like, damn. Sad. And like the few soft goals. But other than that, Davish was amazing. Like, he had a lot of amazing saves. I think he played really well. I think he gave our team a chance. Yeah, like, he could have been a little better. You can't expect much more, you know, like, you need to pull your weight. And I think our goalie did what he needed to do. Yeah, that's about it. Anyways, so like, I've been closing my my videos usually. Please, if you made it this far to the end of the video and you're still listening to me yapping, leave feedback. Do you like what I've been doing? Would you like I add some other things? I stopped saying some other things. I didn't even mention Craig Button once this time until now. So there you go. Anyways. Habs have 2 more games before the Four Nations face-off. So and there's Saturday and Sunday back to back at 1 p.m. because Super Bowl. Whatever. I don't watch football. I didn't even know the Super Bowl was this weekend until I read that. So difficult, very difficult. I don't think the Habs play their best games on the evening. It's against two very difficult teams that do play some more games in the afternoon. I meant afternoon the whole time. Habs don't play well in the afternoon, and I don't think, I do think they're playing against teams that are difficult teams that do play more often in the afternoon, and back to back. Not high expectations. Honestly, I'm already in the mode that I just want to see them play well. I just want to see them develop, and hopefully, energy. The silver linings, right? You want to see the good things, even if they lose and they keep on losing. They gave us a nice 2 months of what they can be, and you expect them to get back to that point soon, right? Hopefully, after they face off, the Four Nations face off. When they've rested, they can keep up that pace from December and January a little bit. But for now, that's it. Thank you for listening to this. See you Saturday. Go Habs, go!